On today's episode of The Unwritten Rule, Mizzou football still doesn't have a DC. So we have no news there, but we do have a couple football things we're going to touch on. One award. We're going back to award season. And then we got some Michael Fasusi news, the 5-star tackle he visited. So we have some reports there from how that went. And then we're going to dive into more men's basketball, more misery. That is the men's basketball season. We're going to recap the Texas A&M game. Kenny was there. So Kenny will recount his experience. He made a vlog. So go to the TikTok. We have a TikTok. Go to that. You can check out the vlog that Kenny did. But yeah, we're going to talk about that, and then we'll briefly preview the Tigers rematch against South Carolina, which is coming up here on Saturday. So we'll talk basketball, and then we'll do quick hits. We got jerseys, Shawn East Maine Birds. We got the best things we learned. So good show to get your guys' weekend started ahead of the South Carolina game. Before we get going, need the quick word from the sponsor, Bet Online. It's playoff time in the NFL, and the road to Vegas goes through San Francisco and Baltimore. Bet Online remains your number one source for playoff odds, stats, trends, and lines, with everything from point spreads to hundreds of player performance props. So head to Bet Online today and stay updated on all the action. Bet Online, the game starts here. Thank you to Bet Online for the spreads. Before we start, we're going to do the Fantastic Four picks. It's getting to crunch time. Peyton and Kenny are tied. They're both 43, 33, and 4. They're in here now. Boys, before we do the lines quick, how are we feeling after the divisional games? You guys are in a neck and neck race for the champion of Fantastic Four picks this year.
Damn annoyed. The Lions absolutely had no right to cover in that game. The Bucs missed a 2-point conversion that would have given it to me. And then Chase McLaughlin missed his first field goal that wasn't blocked of the year that would have gotten me a cover. So that's just the way the game goes. We're going to finish strong here, though.
After 3 years of just trailing Peyton the rest of the way, we're finally getting tight at the end, and I'm very excited to see how this one plays out.
Yeah, we'll see. It was a wild divisional. I'm sure a lot of the listeners here are Chiefs fans were very happy at one Mr. Tyler Bass. But yeah, so 43-33, they're both tied. So we'll go into it. We're doing the thanks to Bet Online for these spreads. We're doing the championship game. So we'll start AFC Chiefs Ravens. It is the Ravens -3.5 right now. What are you gentlemen betting?
I'm going Chiefs here. Kenny, I think you're crazy thinking they're doubting Mahomes after all this. I'm never, ever, I don't care who's at wide receiver. They can have you two out there. Okay, Patrick Mahomes is going to figure it out. The Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. They're not just covering, they're outright winning this game.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of highlights, or just not even highlights, just edit packages of one Brittany Mahomes, yelling at the camera saying, you guys doubted us and we're back, blah, blah, blah. And then it just plays into Lamar Jackson highlights, and I'm just hyped. If someone's going to do it, and if Brady's not here to do it, it's got to be Lamar. It's got to be Lamar to dethrone Patrick Mahomes. Joe Burrow's not here. Tom's not here. It's Lamar's time.
I gotta agree with Peyton here. I think Kenny's wild for this. I think Mahomes is like 8-3 when he's a underdog in the playoffs. I also have the Chiefs. Not that it matters. Kenny, you don't think don't want Taylor Swift at the Super Bowl? I mean, come on.
I do. But the colors for the Super Bowl this year are purple and red. A purple team has to get in. There's only one purple team left, and that's the Ravens.
Yeah,
the theory goes. And the theory's been correct the last 4 Super Bowls, whatever.
People are stretching it with that. Okay, that Eagles green, that is not.
I knew he was going to dispute the Eagles green.
That green is not the same.
I can see it. All right. Well,
let's not forget, Kenny's not just picking the Ravens to win. He thinks they're winning by 4+.
4.
He thinks they're not winning by
24-20. I'll call it there.
Oh, he's put a score in. Maybe that could that be a tiebreaker? I guess we should save the tiebreakers for the Super Bowl. Yeah.
We have
all right.
We have 4 picks. So we don't
Other game, Lions 49ers. It is the Niners by 7. Pretty big line. Niners struggled against Packers a little bit. Lions beat the Bucs, I thought, pretty convincingly. I'll throw my pick in there. I do have Detroit. I want Detroit to go to the Super Bowl. I think it would be so awesome. Regardless, I have them covering, but I hope they win outright.
I do not want Detroit in the Super Bowl. People need to stop with this Lions crap. They're very unlikable. CJ
What?
Gardner Johnson. Are you kidding me? What? Gardner Johnson is a dork. Kirby Joseph is flat out dirty. This is not a likable football team. People just like them because their coach says,
Bears fan.
"Oh, bite a kneecap off." Oh, we're the Lions. We've been horrible for 50 years. Now we win 2 playoff games. Everyone loves us. Not a likable football team. That said, I do
Wow.
have them covering in this game.
It's too many points. Jared Goff back out in his homeland of California. The Packers worked them last week. Why won't the Lions do the same thing? I got the Lions covering.
You're a hater, Peyton. All right, the other 2 bets, because it's 4
Not a
picks.
likable
There's
team.
only 2 games. We're doing the over-unders. So AFC is 44.5 in the Chiefs-Ravens game. I have the over, personally.
Yeah, I took the
Funny.
over as well.
Kenny, your score prediction was the under.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
but
yeah. Yeah,
still a
wait a
lot.
minute. 24-20.
All right. So how about well, it was at 44 and then it went up to 44.5. So it would have
Okay, so it would have been a push.
Push.
Yeah, I was thinking under initially because both of these defenses are actually solid. I don't know. Things get weird though. I'm gonna go with the over here. I'm gonna go over.
All right, and then over-under NFC is 51.5 between the Niners and Lions. I went for the over. I think this is going to be a great game.
It could be a great game. It could still hit the under.
Or shootout. Great game.
So 28-24 is an over. That could kind of be the range. But 28-20 or 28-21, something like that. That's the under. This is tough. I'll take the under here, I think. I'm going to take just barely under.
Okay, well then, Kenny, also, you have the under. So the game that decides it is Chiefs-Ravens. So Kenny just absolutely needs the Lamar highlights that he's been drinking on, that Kool-Aid, to come true, I guess, if we don't want to take this as a tie all the way to the Super Bowl. But we'll see. Kenny, one of you will likely have a 1-point lead heading into the Super Bowl. So we'll pick a bunch of, I don't know, we'll do 4 picks. Maybe we'll throw a player prop in there. I don't know. Maybe I'll have you guys pick your own like prop that you like or something. We'll go super in depth because Bet Online has all those lines. So yeah, we'll see. Chiefs Ravens is the game to watch. I know who a lot of people in this listening to this show, I'm sure, are rooting for. So we'll see. But with that, we'll move forward with the rest of the show. Fantastic 4 picks heating up. Thank you to Bet Online, and the unwritten rule starts right now.
Marcel, where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, alongside Peyton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
Welcome back to the Unwritten Rule. Today is Friday, January 26th, and Mizzou football still doesn't have a defensive coordinator. Like I said in the intro, we have no news to break there. There's still a few names floating around. We're not really sure, but
I don't even think there's that.
Yeah, we don't even really have that. It's a very just dampened. I don't know. Just it's a desert of a search right now. We don't know. We'll keep the people updated whenever we hear anything. But in the meantime, we'll hit on some other football news and we'll dive into to men's hoops. We do have some exciting stuff to talk about. Recruiting trail. We have more updates on Michael Fasusi, the 5-star offensive tackle in the class of 2025. We touched on him a couple shows ago because we knew he was going to visit. He did visit. Not only did he visit, he then canceled a visit to Oregon, where, of course, Dan Lanning, who has that KC connection, I guess, which now I'm realizing doesn't matter in Fasusi's case because he's from Texas. Ignore what I just said. But he canceled a visit to Oregon. And Peyton and Kenny, he had some good things to say about Mizzou that's come out since he visited. Michael Fasusi, the 5-star OT.
Yeah, no, it was evidently a very fruitful visit for Mizzou. I mean, he spoke glowingly of the coaching staff, talked about how they view him as a program changer, stuff like that. All good stuff. It's stuff you want to hear. He did cancel that Oregon visit, but he did tweet a photo of it looked like the Oklahoma coaching staff checking in on him. So, I mean, it's still very early. I don't expect we're going to get any sort of commitment soon, but very good sign early on. I mean, this is a 5-star guy. I mean, so keep an eye on this one. It seems like Mizzou has made a good impression.
Yeah, that was Brent Venables, as well as the offensive line coach and offensive coordinator for Oklahoma, going to see him in person yesterday. That's what you're going to see this month, even into next month. A lot of offers, a lot of in-school visits, just getting more familiar with a lot of these guys, especially with junior days coming or right around the corner for some of these schools, and some have already passed, as well as just spring visits. That March to April time is a big time for recruits to commit before you get into those summer sessions with camps and visits as well. And that's when you start to see a lot more guys trickling in there. The quotes for On 3 that Sam had, or that Michael had, was, "It was amazing. One of the best visits I've ever been on. I don't think 100 out of 10 would even be enough." That's pretty incredible to hear. Just thinking about like how much Mizzou is just going over. I mean, just going above and beyond compared to other programs when a lot of these recruits are on campus. And when you look at where like Mizzou, you can talk about Drinkwitz being one of the best recruiters. Look back at some of these classes. I'm really starting to like this trend where he's finding just one guy that they're going to put like all their effort in. They're trying to change the culture of Mizzou recruiting, change the culture of, what Mizzou looks like in the SEC at the Power 5 level. At a time when NIL is controlling it and everyone's moving conferences because of money, you want to get the best guys you can. If you see a guy like Michael Fasusi going to Mizzou, it's going to spark other interest from guys in DFW, guys around Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, these states that aren't far away. And that's what you want to see. You want to be able to change the tide and change the image that Mizzou has in the recruiting game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're in the conversations with, you look at Fasusi's, list of offers. I mean, it's heavy hitters, and Mizzou is right there. Other things I'll throw out just to add to it, quantify it a bit more. He's the number 12 player in the country right now in the class of 2025, number 3 offensive tackle, according to Rivals. I did look, it does say he's visited Texas 3 times. He's from Texas, so that could be another player there potentially. But obviously, like Peyton said, still a lot of time to see who, kind of emerges as some of the final candidates. Seems like he was impressed. My one final thing before we talk about Darius Robinson quickly. I'm sure for him, it was the facilities, the coaching staff, whatever. What part of Columbia, or what experience in Columbia would you two rate a 100 out of 10? Because that's some high praise. And like, I'm not, Columbia's great, but I don't know. I don't know how much of it would get a 100 out of 10. That's some big review.
He's not of age to go to the places that I'd rate 100.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think Kenny can give an answer.
He's probably driven by them while he was on the visit, kind of looking at where he could be in 3 to 4 years whenever he's of age. But Columbia's a nice
Why would he
town.
be driving by that escape room place?
Forget there's an escape room next to it. Yeah,
I'll throw one out there. The understudy when the Busch Lights were still $2. So unfortunately for him, if that's a deal breaker.
You know what? 100 out of 10 is if you have changing media business models on a Wednesday at the J school, and then you go to Wendy's right after. That's
there you go. Yeah, Columbia Wendy's. All right. Well, I once again forgot to say in the intro, subscribe to the YouTube, and comment. Or comment on Spotify, Apple, whatever you've got to do. Where is your 100 out of 10 Columbia spot? I want to know.
Can you comment on Apple?
I don't know.
They can leave a review.
Leave a review. Give us 5 stars, and your review can just be, instead of being critical, or leave a 1-star review and just say that. What's your 100?
No,
these guys
not leave a 1-star.
These guys suck. These guys suck, but I love the Columbia Chipotle.
If you're not going to leave a 5-star review, don't review us.
Don't leave one. Yeah. Anyway, Michael Fasusi, name to watch in the 2025 class. And now you have homework to figure out what your favorite Columbia spot is. Awards. We only have one. We're going back to award season. I'm still kind of hung up on award season. I'm still not happy that we're doing it. But this one's a pretty cool one. Darius Robinson, first team academic All-America. Pretty cool. The first honor since I believe Tyler Beatty was the last one to get named on that. My only note, if you guys have anything, this is what a school should brag about, not getting a cumulative 2.9 GPA at Liberty. That was hilarious to see that graphic, but congrats to Darius.
Or if you're Texas a couple of years ago, getting it done on the field and in the classroom with a 2.89 GPA, the highest in team history. But no, real note, good for Darius. He seems like a great ambassador for Mizzou. So hopefully he tears it up in the NFL. Also, we should probably mention, I forgot about this, one other, not really award, but Chris Lowe for ESPN put together the way too early 2024 All-American class, and Luther Burden was on it. So the hype is real. The Heisman campaign is starting early.
Yeah. He not only was on it, he was like the cover photo of the ESPN graphic. So that was exciting. Also, Ennis Rakestraw was on Mel Kiper's. He was in Mel Kiper's first round mock draft, I believe, to the Ravens at like 21. So a lot of hype. I'm going to get so excited. Like I've said this for next year when Luther Burden's like a top 10 pick, just listening to as much NFL draft content as I can consume just to hear other experts talk about him. It's just that it's going to be awesome. But maybe we'll be doing that sooner rather than later. If like Ennis and maybe Chris Abrams Drain is a high end, early day two pick, whatever it might be. But yeah, cool developments for the football team. Other note I had on Robinson, Peyton, you mentioned the ambassador for Mizzou. He's just seems like a great ambassador for Columbia too. Like he's going to be missed all over, like both on the field and off it. It would seem. I was reading the release. He was named to the SEC Community Service Team for football. And then he was also honored by the Columbia chapter of the NAACP with their appreciation award for community service. So he's just a great dude. Just a great dude.
Like a glowing dude. Yeah.
Yeah. He's gonna that feels like a future Walter Payton Man of the Year finalist in a year where he also gets 9 sacks as a rookie for I don't know, but whatever.
He likely won't be a first rounder, but it's very cool to see that the draft is in Detroit this year, not far away from where Darius Robinson grew up in Canton, Michigan. That's one of the coolest things for me. Peyton sent me a post not too long ago about the recruits that Michigan are from Detroit to Mizzou, and Darius is really just the lone one, and very cool to see that his football career started there, and it's the next chapter opens in Detroit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very cool. If we're talking more future things too, the Luther Burden All-America, Ennis Rakestraw, I did see someone post a graphic of the top 15 quarterbacks of the 2025 draft already, and I think Brady Cook was QB 11. So there we go. Some way too early draft hype for him. He'll pass Carson Beck soon enough. That's who was number 1. So
really, Carson Beck's pretty damn good.
He is good. Not better than Brady. We'll see. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on the DC search, guys. I've been saying, feel like a broken record, but it is what it is. Segueing, we're gonna talk basketball. I'm gonna go to Kenny here first because Mizzou men's basketball lost again, 63-57 to Texas A&M. I know I'm sure have a lot of thoughts on the game. I read some stuff, but Kenny, you were in attendance. You and Gabe DeArmond were representing the media conglomeration, though you were in the stands. Gabe had the handwritten media tag I saw wherever his spot was. So good on Texas A&M. They're really going all out to be hospitable to the visiting media. But you were there. Mizzou lost. You told us that the Reed Gymnasium is pretty shitty. So at least there's that. What were your thoughts on? What were both of y'all's thoughts on the game? But Kenny, first-hand account.
Yeah, I'll start with the Reed Gymnasium. I texted you guys. I won't use the word that I used, but it's like a very upscale high school gymnasium had a baby with a 1970s basketball coliseum. it's really weird because like parts of it are updated and then the rest of it looks like I'm watching an HBO documentary about like the 1970s Seton Hall basketball team. It's just that's what it felt like.
What a
And
random shot at the Pirates. Damn.
most of it was, student seating. I understood why my ticket was only $1. It was a whiteout, a lot of, white. Everyone was in white t-shirts, trying to make the black and gold more visible. I didn't really get the point of it, but there was a sign that said Mizzou who. I kept trying to get a photo of it, but they wouldn't leave it up there on the jumbotron long enough. A lot more fans, a lot more students than fans. There were 2 student sections behind both hoops, which I thought that was the cool part. Cushioned seats all the way through. That was a nice thing.
Okay.
I did see Gabe. I didn't get to talk to him. They wouldn't let me into the student section because I didn't have a student ID, and that's where the media
Sure.
seating was. It was just in the student section, so there were students on Gabe's left and right behind him. That I thought that was pretty stupid about how it was set up.
Gabe probably
Yeah,
loved that.
I had a good time though. I went with 2 of my friends that are Texas A&M guys. The worst part about it, Gabe tweeted about it. It was raining like crazy. I was walking through puddles. I had to borrow a pair of socks when I left. Like Jack mentioned, you can go on TikTok and watch my vlog about it. There is a warning on there because I had my phone out when I was driving. I apologize to all those who are watching. I apologize to Peyton's grandmother if she's going to watch it. I don't want her to think that I'm a texter and driver. I was just filming my drive. But yeah, it was okay. I counted throughout the stadium. I couldn't see right below me. I didn't see Trent Burns, but I saw the pictures after that he was there. I think there was about 10 gold shirts that I saw in total. I'll bring up one thing during quick hits about one of the shirts I saw. Other than that, it felt like just a regular Mizzou game. I guess we can start getting into the recap here now.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but even when Mizzou had that lead in the first 10 minutes of the first half, in my mind, I'm like, oh, they're going to lose by 10 points. That's just where it is this season. I think even when Texas A&M took the lead right before the end of the half and Mizzou went on that scoring drought, it was a good zone defense battle back and forth. It was just like the Tigers were in striking distance, but I told my friends, I was like, they're going to lose by close to 10 points. Hey, that's just how it's been this whole season. And I have one thing to tell you guys. I don't know if you guys have noticed this. The Tigers haven't won a game in 2024 yet. The Central Arkansas game was on December 30th, and it's just a continued losing streak for Mizzou. But the Arkansas game looks more winnable as the days go by. I'll throw this over to Peyton now. We can start getting into the nitty-gritties.
Yeah, I mean, every single game seems to just go the exact same way. Mizzou either starts off great or really, really terrible. No matter what happens, they wind up being.
Go through your checklist. Go through your checklist.
You want me to get the whole checklist?
Yeah, go through the checklist.
Here.
Peyton made a checklist. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this was really funny.
Yeah, no. Here it is. Every Mizzou conference game, I text this to just some people. Get an early lead or be in an unbelievably bad hole to start. Be within single digits despite not deserving it at all at half. Boy, did Mizzou really live up to that in this one, because after Texas A&M went on a 21-2 run over 11 minutes in this game. But they were still only up single digits at half. Have a 1-point second half lead, which they actually got up to 2 points, a 2-point lead in the second half, but then immediately allow an 8+0 run or something like that to permanently fall behind. That happened at the end. Lose. Mizzou did that. Every single conference game has gone the exact same, with the exception of maybe South Carolina, where they really just bottled it. Which, by the way, that really would have been a good win looking back. God, man, I don't know anymore. The defense was actually spectacular in this game. This wasn't just A&M having a poor shooting night. Mizzou legitimately earned the poor performance that Texas A&M had. The problem is the offense is just nonsense this year. If Tamar Bates and I believe Tamar Bates and Sean East had the only Mizzou points for the first 16 minutes.
Yeah, it was 2 minutes left in the first half. Noah Carter scored, and that was their first Bates or East basket.
Unbelievably terrible. There is just so much garbage that is going on the offensive end. at this point, it was interesting because I thought Jordan Butler, he got his first career start in this game. Thought he played pretty well, all things considered. Like, I mean, he's a true freshman that most people think is a project. I thought he played all right. Trent Pierce still can't really find minutes. He really doesn't earn them. Every time he's on the court, it just doesn't seem like he adds a whole lot. Ant had a horrible game. I think there's no real way around it. But it's just bad, man. Like, they're gonna win a game they're gonna win probably a few games in conference, just because they've really had just unbelievably bad luck at certain points. But I mean, in a game like this, bounces were really going Mizzou's way at some point. I mean, they got a 4-point play that put them back in the game late, and they just didn't do anything with it.
You talk about the defense, and I did like the zone defense from both sides, both teams in this game. But fouls, incredible. That was the thorn. That was the biggest thorn in this game to me, was that Mizzou outfouled them 26-16. But the Aggies went to the charity stripe 37 times to the Tigers 10, and they scored 27 of those free throws. And that's just where, I mean, that's where it really came down to. They just got so many free points because Mizzou just kept fouling, and those fouls, like, it wasn't just something that was hurting them early. It was keeping guys off the floor too. You needed Noah Carter on the floor, and then he was in foul trouble. Tamar Bates got into foul trouble as well. And if they weren't into foul trouble, they win this game. There were opportunities to win this game if those guys weren't in foul trouble, because they didn't have the depth, they didn't have the guys to go on the floor to make up for when you didn't have Tamar Bates. When you needed a guy to score that wasn't just Sean East, or someone that could give you points in the paint like Noah Carter could.
And I will say, Texas A&M does do that to everybody. That's their game. They get to the line, they frustrate people. I mean, remember the 2 games against Mizzou last year? I mean, it was brutal, and Mizzou just does not get to the line. Like, that's every game. It wasn't some ref like conspiracy here. That's just the game Texas A&M plays, and Missouri is really bad at it.
Yeah, it's wild. You can see a game with that kind of free throw discrepancy and not point to the officials. But you're exactly right, Peyton. That is how Texas A&M plays. They got offensive rebounds. I hate to bring down the defensive praise, because I think it was great, and I think it's representative of how this team does when Dennis Gates lays out a game plan, at least on one side of the ball, and says, this is how we need to execute on this side of the ball for this game against this team. They're capable of going out and doing that. The problem is you can't play a zone like that against almost anyone that isn't Texas A&M, because other teams will hit their shots. Texas A&M can't shoot threes. That's a problem for them. But it did well, I think, against Wade Taylor. Like, he still scored, but it wasn't nearly. I wasn't turning and being like, wow. It wasn't like watching Wade Taylor against Arkansas when he had like 45 points and took 37 shots or whatever it was. So I do think that was great. I don't want to take anything away from that. Peyton, I'm glad you touched on Jordan Butler. I thought he was great. I have a stat on that, actually, tonight, or that night. Or it's like at least recently. I think there was 37 combined minutes between the freshmen. And that's the most that we've had since conference play started. So seems like trends are leaning towards starting the young players more. Dennis Gates said after, I wanted to not only challenge Noah Carter to play better, and that's why I stuck him on the bench, but also wanted to give Jordan Butler the opportunity after he's been playing so well. So guys are going to get rewarded no matter how old they are if they're playing big minutes. I think that's always been Dennis Gates' MO. But yeah, I mean, just to kind of reemphasize, like, no side of the ball, sorry, let me rephrase that. Only one side of the ball plays well at a time. It's either they're all right on offense, terrible at defense, all right at defense, or good at defense like they were, and awful at offense. So yeah, just a mess. I think there was some stuff to like from Butler. You guys touched on it, but any other final things? I mean, Tamar Bates still, I think, looks good. 7 for 16 from the field. He had 5 rebounds to go along with his 16 points. It wasn't inefficient shooting. I thought he was fine. There are still times, I think I texted this to Peyton, where he makes kind of 2 buckets in a row. And DeAndre Golston, I know I always compare the two, but he did this too, when, you would make 2 shots and then you'd see there are plays when Tamar Bates then gets the ball, puts his head down and drives to the baseline, tries to put up a tough bucket. So he needs to limit those. But I think in this season, you're going to take those and live with them, from a guy who I think is going to be a star for this team next year.
Yeah, I think it's almost out of like necessity he has to do that. I remember this was a discussion. I thought like Tamar was going to play more the Demoy Hodge role, just be kind of a perimeter guy because he had good catch and shoot numbers last year. But I remember you and another one of our friends, Chase, said he was going to take the Golston role, and you guys definitely nailed that because he plays very similar. And honestly, it's almost more efficient than Golston at times because
it is like the shooting splits are. Yeah.
Yeah. Golston had some games where he really was not efficient with it, but he could, it's similar to Tamar, take over a game if you needed some scoring. The problem is there's no Kobe and there's no Demoy on this team that can really make it a more complete unit. I liked your point about the freshmen getting more minutes. Gates is not just going to play the freshmen because they're freshmen and it's a lost season. He's going to make them earn it. And it wouldn't shock me, honestly, if we don't see Ant play the next game because he was not good in this one. But Jordan Butler, like we've hit on, I thought he played well. Honestly, I'm pretty impressed with the rebounding effort for Mizzou in this one, and to an extent in the Florida game, because A&M and Florida were teams that absolutely brutalized teams on the board. Mizzou was beating Florida on the boards at halftime, and they led with about 3 minutes left on the boards against A&M before A&M just stopped missing and got to the line down the stretch, and Mizzou just couldn't get a rebound. So there's flashes of like a team that could be decent, like a middle of the pack SEC team. The problem is there's just not enough good players on this team right now.
Yeah.
I got two more fun notes. I guess just lighten the mood before we get into a little bit at the South Carolina game. The Texas A&M fans loved Connor Vanover. There were a couple signs about him. But there's mostly freshmen that go to these basketball games for Texas A&M, so I guess they don't know that Connor Vanover's been in the SEC before. It was like they'd never heard of him or seen him. Another one was every time they kind of panned to this one guy for the Jumbotron, he would always throw up 10 fingers and then go too small, talking about Nick Honor. My friends loved Nick Honor. They thought he was like the short guy, the short king of basketball, almost like all the guys that are too short to play sports. And Nick Honor was the one doing it for them, and he was the one that was actually on the floor. So they loved him as well. They thought he could play fullback if he wanted to play football. Last thing I wanted to know was that, Mizzou there is a very little brother mentality still with, the FKU, and given the history between those two teams, and Kansas has really just kind of owned that basketball rivalry, especially since it kind of got revived after 10 years since Mizzou moved to the SEC. But man, Texas A&M fans, every single time they won the Jumbotron, horns down. That's it. Every single time, horns down or thumbs up. No, it's not nice. It was the most little brother thing I'd ever seen. They haven't played them in over 10 years in basketball, and I just don't get it. They're freshmen. These kids, they were 9 or 8 years old the last time those two teams faced each other. They don't remember that. They don't remember any of it, and I think it's just like the biggest little brother thing ever. Especially if you're playing Mizzou. Like, what are you gaining
Mizzou
by doing
KU
that?
is back. And Mizzou's done the
That's a good point.
thing
That's a good
now.
point. Do they don't have a hand symbol, do they, Texas A&M?
Just thumbs up. It's
Thumbs up.
Yeah, the male cheerleaders.
Thumbs
up.
That's not universal.
What is it? The midnight yell? What is it called?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Their cult
Something
thing.
like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Good
Gig 'em.
notes, Kenny. Yeah, gig 'em. I don't know. The other, I think, stat that I was reading through Gabe and Drew's writing. Go subscribe to them and read that. They have good breakdowns of every game. But like Gabe literally straight up said, I think this is a game. Texas A&M shot 29% from the field and won a basketball game. If that doesn't encompass where Mizzou is at, as a team, I'm not really sure what does. I don't really know how that's possible, to be honest. But they did. It is what it is, and now Mizzou, hopefully can capture on some of the good we touched on. Maybe Jordan Butler continues a nice run of form. I would like to see something from Aiden Shaw again. I feel like him and Ant Robinson both have they had little spurts at the beginning and then have now kind of tapered off. So I think if Aiden Shaw, wants to kind of reaffirm that he's going to be a big future of this program, I'd like to see that continue for him. Maybe South Carolina is that game. Let's touch on that. We have obviously something to draw from. These two teams played. That was, of course, like Peyton said, Missouri's best chance at an SEC win. Tigers managed to lead a game for an entire second half and still lose in overtime, 71-69. Some stats from that game. If you remember, South Carolina, they shot 30% from three. Not very good. They also turned the ball over 16 times to Missouri's 7. So maybe a couple of things there. Michi Johnson, who has been largely South Carolina's best player, had 5 points in this game. So, they did well getting to him.
How did they lose this game?
Missouri
oh
lost.
My God. Jesus. I mean, come on, dude.
South Carolina, since that game, are 2-1. They lost to Georgia, then beat Arkansas, and then in their last game, went out and kind of crushed Kentucky 79-62 and stormed the court in their most recent win in Columbia, and now play Mizzou, also in Columbia, South Carolina.
They are the closest thing to what Mizzou was last year in the SEC.
Thank you. Agree.
I mean, they are just absolutely. I doubted that Lamont Paris hire, but boy, he has proven me wrong. I mean, South Carolina. It's hard not to kind of feel a little jealous because I mean, God, I think back to how much fun last year's team was. That's what this year is for South Carolina fans. This is their year, 100%. They're probably going to make the tournament. Like you said, Knowlton, they didn't just beat Kentucky at home; they absolutely brutalized them. They got to rush the court and everything. So South Carolina's good. I mean, coming into the first meeting with Mizzou, I thought they were fake. But now I think they've proven that's probably a bona fide NCAA tournament team. And Mizzou should have beat them. I think that game really broke me on this season. I was really not happy that they lost that one. That 3-pointer at the end of regulation, I can't believe that happened. So Missouri definitely can beat this South Carolina team. Going to South Carolina, especially them coming off an emotional win, trap game potential. I mean, we've seen this before in a different South Carolina Mizzou matchup in 2021 or 2022 rather. South Carolina got that emotional win over Texas A&M. They got ranked, and then Mizzou beat them at home. I mean, on South Carolina's homecoming. So trap game potential here. Do I think Mizzou capitalizes on it? No, I don't. I think they lose this game, but they should have beat South Carolina first time around.
It's definitely a different Mizzou team, which is kind of crazy to say since this South Carolina game wasn't that long ago. John Tonje played 12 minutes this game, more so just cardio. Didn't really pick up many stats, had a steal and a rebound and an assist. Ended up taking one shot in those 12 minutes. But Jordan Butler didn't play in this game. And he played a lot against Texas A&M, and he started that game as well. It's going to be interesting to see how this Tigers team kind of matches up this time around. The shooting percentage, of course. Well, I mean, all the numbers, as Jack was mentioning, everything was fairly similar in that game for South Carolina and Mizzou. It just really comes down to how this Tigers team is going to look a second time around because, I mean, there's going to be different guys on the floor than the last time they met.
Yeah, no doubt. I know, especially Peyton is not very fond of almost all of the SEC coaches. Apart from Dennis, Lamont Paris is my favorite. I am glad for his sake that, it's worked out for him in year 2. That's all. I won't be that nice to South Carolina, but I do like him. I won't hide that. But yeah, it's going to be tough. This is a team that's riding a real high, but we'll see. Yeah, maybe it's a hangover game. I mean, this game is sandwiched for South Carolina in between Kentucky, and then they go to Tennessee. So, they might be looking ahead at how they want to handle that. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes in Columbia, but I'm not predicting very well. But Mizzou, they had the recipe to beat them in Columbia, Missouri. We'll see if they can replicate that and not, kind of throw it away. One of these games has got to fall for Mizzou, right? You would think. What god did they piss off?
You would think is the best way to describe this season, I think.
You would
You would
think.
think.
You would think. And with that, we will think our way over to quick. That was a terrible transition. But we'll see how it goes for Mizzou men's basketball. Again, that's noon Saturday, SEC Network. You can watch that game. So everyone tune in. And with that, we will segue and finish the show with quick hits. Okay, quick hits time. Jerseys of the week. We start things off. We got a good Mizzou jersey of the week this week. Kenny, what is your jersey of the week?
Mentioned it earlier. I took note of all the yellow jerseys, Mizzou merchandise that I saw worn at the Texas A&M game. And one thing that really stood out to me was a group of children wearing Anthony Robinson jerseys. I thought that was a lot of fun. Anthony Robinson's family must have been at the game, and he might have younger brothers and sisters or cousins that made the trip. And it looked fun. I mean, they had gold little jerseys on, cheering on their big brother or big cousin.
Hey, you never know. It could just be a super fan, Anthony Robinson. He might just have roadies. Just follow Anthony Robinson wherever he goes. Get bought in now while he's a freshman before he takes over the SEC. Peyton?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with young Missouri Tiger guards. Honor Boateng, who was not named a McDonald's All-American. And he took that personally because, my goodness, in a game just from this past week, Little Rock Central basketball posted this absolute just monster jam. He apparently shot 7 for 7 in this game from the field, including 4 for 4 from deep. He's exciting, man. Definitely. Maybe some of the other signees will be projects. I have a feeling this guy will be making an impact right away.
Yeah, I said he was the most likely. 7 for 7 from the field, or most likely in terms of like being a McDonald's All-American. I just didn't finish that statement. 7 for 7 from the field, 4 for 4 from deep. That's a very efficient shooting on Boateng. I like hearing that. Speaking of a guy who can knock him down from deep, I'm going to the pro ranks. We talked about him last week. Demoy Hodge, he got traded because you can do that in the G League, including for first-round picks. They have a draft. He got traded. He was picked up by the Rip City Remix, who are the Portland Trailblazers G League affiliate. And in his debut, Kenny and Peyton, his debut with the Remix, brand new set of teammates, all this. He made the transition from Cleveland to the SEC. He has no problem adjusting to a new setting. 21 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist, 4 steals, 5 for 13 from 3. Demoy doing typical Demoy Hodge things. He got interviewed after the game, gave the very Demoy answer. Just happy to be playing basketball. Love my teammates. We love that for Demoy. Peyton, I have a fun fact for you. I would like you to guess one of Demoy Hodge's teammates on the Rip City Remix. It's a person you know. Huh? No, it is not a Mizzou player.
Jeremiah Tillman.
It's not a Mizzou player.
Okay.
Not a Mizzou player. You do know this guy well, perhaps in infamy for you.
Okay, so it's a player I don't like.
It is certainly a player you don't like for a very specific reason. I will add.
Is it Sharif Cooper?
No, that's not a bad guess though.
Oh, okay.
Not an SEC player, not a Power 5 player.
Really? Okay.
No. He I don't want to give it away. Kenny, do you see who it is?
Yeah, I found it. I was
Okay,
looking
yeah.
up the roster.
Yeah.
Who on earth would this be?
Okay, Peyton, he almost broke a certain
Antoine
record.
Davis! Antoine Davis Jr. is his teammate? And
he
allowed
is.
Demoy to have that many points? Oh, very nice of you, Antoine Davis Jr. Good to know that you're still kicking and not going for some phony record in a phony manner. And now your college is 0-20.
Yeah, Antoine Davis is on the Rip City Remix. He got 22 points and Demoy got 21. So he is learning to share the wealth in the pros.
Ridiculous.
Mo Harkless is on this team.
Oh my God, that's a name and a half.
Lying to us right now.
No, Mo Harkless.
That's
in the
that's
night I hear him talk, the coldest story ever told. How could you be Mo Harkless?
Yeah,
That guy, dude.
Tony
Romeo
Snell's in the
Weems.
G League. Plays for the Maine Celtics.
What team?
Yeah, that's a fun team. Yeah, for those who don't know, Antoine Davis played for Detroit Mercy, who is 0-20 this year. So if you're sad about Mizzou, just be glad you're not a Detroit Mercy fan. He played for 5 years. His dad was the coach, and essentially just force-fed him the ball to the point where he almost broke Pete Maravich's career scoring record.
They tried to get a phony tournament together so he could break it. It was the lamest thing I've ever seen.
Some of us liked it, some of us did not.
You should not. There is no reason to like this. It was so lame. It was so lame. I don't like records are made to be broken, not like that. Like they tried to resurrect a tournament that hadn't been played in 4 years to try and get him to break this record. That's how bad it was. Thank God the CBI didn't go along with that sham. Gained a lot of respect for me.
Yeah, well, and now he has to share shots with Des Moines Hodge. So we'll see how that goes for him. Next segment, Sean.
I like no capping. He's the main bird.
Shawnee's main bird of the week. Kenny.
My Shawnee's main bird of the week goes to Blaine Gabbert, the backup quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. That connection, of course, he played for the Arizona Cardinals back in 2017 in pursuit of his second Super Bowl this weekend, trying to win the AFC Championship as a signal caller, maybe helping Mr. Mahomes on the sidelines with the iPad and trying to draw some things up for him. I mean, he's been around the league for a long time. He knows a lot about Missouri, even though this game will be in Baltimore. This is a big game for Blaine Gabbert. Maybe his last. We don't know. Maybe this will be the end on the Blaine Gabbert train.
We do love Blaine Gabbert. He was a better quarterback than Cam Newton at one time. Fact.
What?
Peyton?
When
Remember when that was the whole debate, wasn't it? It was Blaine Gabbert and Cam Newton. QB1. Yeah,
okay.
well, yeah.
Cam Newton went first overall, so I don't think he did win that.
Well, there were I think I remember a Mel Kiper article that did the debate. But maybe someone can fact check me.
Main bird. My main bird is going to War Dam. Auburn basketball. Knowlton had to cover them, beating Alabama last night. And then he had to listen to his favorite.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Auburn beat Alabama. Alabama beat Auburn. Number 8 Auburn. Handed them their third loss. Then you had to listen to Bruce Pearl talk. How did that go, Knowlton? I know you're a big fan.
Yeah, I'm most certainly not. That guy is a cheater and a loser. I don't like Bruce Pearl. Thankfully, Peyton, I was actually writing, so I didn't listen too much. I managed to tune him out. I did tweet one quote about him saying that he said that Alabama was going to run a lot of people out of their gym. To which an Auburn fan replied to me and said, no, they're not. Bruce Pearl just can't win. So they were in their feelings. I don't have a dog in that fight teams wise. I do love watching Bruce Pearl lose. I don't like him. He's a cheater and a loser.
Kenny doesn't agree.
Yeah, Kenny, I know you don't agree. Why don't you agree?
It's whatever, man. He was on The Bachelor once, and I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, he does kind of talk like he gives you kind of a loser mentality a lot when he talks, but who cares that he cheated? Every coach does.
I could go on.
To be Mizzou's coach.
I could go on and on. I did learn something about Bruce Pearl that I would like other SEC coaches to adopt. So here, I'll be nice to him for a second. They let the media closed off. They let media watch practice, which I think is kind of cool. I think other coaches should do that, but he's a cheater and a loser. My main bird of the week goes to former Atlanta Hawk, which is why he's a bird. Doc Rivers. This was the news in the NBA this week. Doc Rivers essentially manipulated his way into the Milwaukee Bucks job in the middle of the season. The Bucks fired their coach, Adrian Griffin, halfway through his first season as a head coach. Then stuff came out that said, when the Bucks were in the in-season tournament, they hired or had Doc Rivers be a consultant to Adrian Griffin. And now a couple months later, they fire Griffin. Doc Rivers is now the coach. Crazy situation in Milwaukee. That is, of course, my favorite NBA team. So I was going through the 7 stages of grief. It's a mess, but hey, he won a championship 16 years ago, so maybe he can do it again. Congrats to Doc Rivers.
I think what's really crazy is that Adrian Griffin didn't really do anything heinous. They just didn't like him.
Yep.
It took them half a season to realize, oh, this guy sucks. Please fire him. And that was basically just it.
Yeah.
How many times have we seen the second best team in a conference fire their coach halfway through a season? That's ridiculous.
First season, no less, he's been the coach. Like, that's wild.
Yeah. There's been, I don't know. I mean, there was a video just last night. Shout out to Joe Prunty, by the way, who was the Bucks interim coach for their game on Wednesday night, and like was yelling at the refs about missed calls. And like, dude, you're not even going to be the coach. Like, you're going to have to go back to your old job. And he's just all out. There's some stuff that came out. I don't think the players really liked him. He had some scheme issue stuff. The more I read about it, the actually less I hated the decision. I still don't love that Doc Rivers, ESPN analyst Doc Rivers, is now going to attempt to coach a team that has aspirations to win a championship. I certainly want them to do that. It is what it is, man. I don't think I'm getting that Isaiah Mosley jersey, Kenny. I don't think I'm getting it. I don't think Doc's going to do it. There was a lot of coping. There was a thread of someone went through every playoff series he lost and was like, this is why he lost. It wasn't actually his fault. And it was like, so-and-so was injured. It was the Warriors. They just beat everybody that year. Like, I was like, oh man, you're not going to be able to do this when they lose to the Pacers in 6 in a couple months. But congrats, Doc Rivers. Welcome to Milwaukee. Best thing we learned this week. Peyton, what's the best thing you learned?
Guys, it can always be worse. Always.
Why is that?
Mizzou may be 0-6 in SEC play, but if we pull up my favorite rankings, the handy dandy Torvik rankings, Missouri is ranked 117 in the nation, and good old Arkansas is 127. That comes off the heels of a unbelievable 30-point loss to Ole Miss. Ole Miss ain't for real, guys. Ole Miss is a fake team. They had 3 people get hurt in this game. Arkansas fans are going through it just as much as we are, maybe even more so, because Missouri did not have Final Four projections in the preseason. And if you're wondering how former Missouri Tiger Trevin Brazile is doing, he's only averaging the old triple single. But if you remember last year, he had that dunk against South Dakota State, which guaranteed him a first-round pick grade.
Didn't he hurt his knee again?
Apparently, I don't know if it is bad or not.
Well, we don't root for injuries, but he has sucked, which is...
Yeah. Nobody has been good on that team outside of Draymond Mark.
Yeah.
Cares more about his hair than his play. We can always agree on that.
Yeah, I mean, sure. The
best thing I learned this week. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I liked the Mizzou fans who were just quote tweeting the final score with the video of him saying at Missouri we never won. I think we won 8 games that year.
I got to go back and find his total SEC record in his career. It ain't pretty.
Do that math and tweet it from the account.
I'm gonna
sorry.
Best thing I learned this week: a better future Mizzou big man, someone will like a lot more than the one we won't name. But Trent Burns was in College Station to watch the Tigers play when I was there, and you can actually see in the background of this photo the Anthony Robinson jerseys that I was talking about. They're jerseys. So if you guys go on Gabe's Twitter, on the powermizzou.com Twitter account, you can look in the background and see the shirts I've been talking about. But Trent Burns made the trip. Of course, he is from Houston as well, friend of the show, and he made the trip up there. And this quote is from Gabe DeArmond and Power Mizzou. Trent Burns said, "I wanted to be here for my team. I'm going to be a part of it next year. I was too close not to come and support. Of course, it's only an hour and a half drive. Trying to come in and win as many games next year as possible." Burns said, "We're not doing as well this year, but we hope to be a lot better next year." Good mentality there from Trent Burns, who, I mean, we were very impressed with when we talked to him, and from all the film we've seen.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
Yeah, he seems like, I mean, he's a great kid. We talked to him. Maybe we'll repost that interview or something, but he's a great kid. And yeah, I mean, he looks 7'3" and he can shoot. He looks good. He looks like he's going to be a great addition. Seems like he's very bought in. So excited for him.
And I bet he'll be better than Trevin Brazile's SEC career record, not including the SEC.
Oh, you did it already.
of 14-28.
Yikes.
That is a 3.33 win percentage in SEC play.
There you go. Congrats, Trevor.
Very
First round
impressive,
pick.
Trevin.
Yeah, first round pick. My best thing I learned this week, I'm audibling from Mizzou a little bit just because I thought this was fun. This was my dream in college, but I'm going over to women's basketball, specifically TCU women's basketball. Now, if you don't know what happened to TCU women's basketball, let me fill you in. They were very good. They had a very good start to their season, and then got hit with just a million injuries, and I believe a couple like illnesses that went around the team. A couple players got ruled out for the season with injuries and stuff, to the point where they had to have walk-on tryouts in the middle of the season. Now, normally when you see that, it's from like IUPUI, and it's just because they're really bad and like, I don't know, people quit or whatever. But TCU was a legitimate like ranked team in the Big 12. Very good team, had to do this because they had a million injuries. So they went out and they got 3 walk-ons. And what has come to light now is like they just had some absolute basketball studs walking around their campus. They added Piper Davis, Ella Hamlin, and Micaiah Moore. 2 of them are state champions. One of them scored like 1,500 points in her career. They're just walking around campus at TCU as regular students and are now on the women's basketball team. They played on Tuesday. They won. I don't know if either of them played. It was only a 6-point win, so maybe not. But like they had to like forfeit, like postpone like 2 games because they didn't have enough players. So pretty cool that they just had like some very seems like capable basketball players on their campus that they could sign. I think this just affirms that, you know, when we were in the Mizzou rec, Kenny and Peyton, we did see some guys in there that were some buckets. I think there were some people that could have walked on. Of course, you had football with Boo Smith, you know, flag football star, walked on. Congrats to those 3. I hope they enjoy their newfound college basketball experience.
I saw a thing on Sports Center about this. One of them did play. In that win over UCF.
Okay.
But yeah, like you said, I mean, I think one was a volleyball player. So I think that there was some reason for them being on campus in that instance.
Oh, okay. They played another sport.
Yeah, but no, like you said, it's crazy. They had to get these 3 in. And they were not only like they were favored to win that game against UCF too. Like that's the crazy part. And they did. It's a good. That's actually a neat story. You don't see stuff like that often.
Throw Kibet Chepiater in that conversation too, Jack, talking about football players. Another thing I just remembered is that I think it was during Konzo's last year. There's the 2022 or 2021 season, 2021, 2022.
Yeah.
That year, there were 2 guys that we played in the rec league that were on like the scout team for Mizzou basketball. I remember seeing them. They would sit behind the bench during the games, kind of looking at some guys that maybe could help them down the road. Nothing ever came of it. I think, you know, I don't know if there was, I think it was back in like 2017 is when I was told this. I was on a visit at Mizzou before I was enrolled there.
Official or unofficial?
Unofficial visit at the time. I didn't end up using my OP, but on that visit, the tour guide did tell us when we were in the rec that the Mizzou basketball players used to come and play there for a little while. So I think it might have been during the Anderson years when they weren't very good, and so then they started winning games. So they were told to stop playing at the rec.
Going.
Yeah, and I thought that was a pretty funny thing.
That is funny. It's probably smart that you don't have your D1 players risking injury against probably uncoordinated like frat guys. But I thought this was cool. This was my dream when I was in college, that you just still be seen. It's the same thing that when you're a kid, like when you're hooping in your driveway, that someone will drive by and be like, that guy's pretty good. We should call him up to some team. So they just, you know, they answered the call. So best of luck to them. Hopefully TCU can make up those 2 games. They were ranked games. They were going to play Kansas State and Iowa State. They're both ranked. So hopefully they can make up those games. Best of luck to the 3 of them. And I don't know, maybe Mizzou needs to have some tryouts. I don't know. With that, we'll end the show. Peyton?
I don't have it.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm just kidding. Of course I have it. Oh, dude. This one comes from our favorite TV series, The Today Show. Guys, did you hear about the broken guitar for sale?
No, I didn't pick it.
No, dude.
Get me out of there.
Do you hear about the broken guitar for sale? It comes with no strings attached. Oh,
Oh, good one. Good one. Good one. How do you feel about that, Kenny? He just left the chat. All right, everyone go to the YouTube. You get pure comedy in the YouTube. All right, well, in the show. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll see what happens. Maybe South Carolina will be a trap game for the Gamecocks, just like football a couple years ago. But everyone go enjoy that. Have a fun and safe weekend. We will maybe have a DC on Monday. We'll see. Who knows? But until then,
don't bet on it.
don't bet on it. But keep your eyes peeled. We'll see. Maybe they're hiring Peyton. Peyton, you get any phone calls?
No.
No? Oh, okay. You and Eric Link can work the staff together. I know you'd love that. With that, we'll end the show. Hope everyone has a fun and safe week. We will see y'all on Monday.